sound, action! Yule Father is what we like to call a Viking-inspired fantasy Santa origin story.
We were just thinking of our next idea for our Christmas film because we do it every year. I always wanted to tell a medieval story.
Like a Viking origin story of Santa and how to go about doing that and bringing that slightly darker image to what we all know and love to be Santa and Christmas and things of that nature, and what we could do to tell a story that hasn't been told, but yet, have it somewhat resemble what we know.
Leon is my character's name, and I am Santa Claus's dad. Oh, it's so dope. I firmly believe I was born in the wrong era. This is one of the better shoots I've been on in a really, really long time. It's been really cool. It feels, a lot like it did when I first started making movies.
So the thing that I was most excited about for this film was honestly just the crew. Michael and Brittany asked me to come on this project. Anytime they ask, it's always an immediate yes. When you're working with these guys, it's like coming home every time.
I loved so much of it. I mean, the fighting was incredible. I loved the physicality of some scenes where I get knocked around. Like doing that sort of practically was really fun, and workshopping that, and just taking up the space as the character and like feeling like I was in charge was really fun.
Having heard a whole lot about the work that Mediaverse Studio's been doing, and with Michael in Cintree FIlms with Brittany, it was just great to actually put faces to the names and actually get to see all these great people at work, just doing what they do best.
Action!
Last year during a Super Bowl party that we were at, we met some Renaissance people, and they were talking about the costumes and everything that they do for a Renaissance fair. And right after the Super Bowl party ended, we talked to Kevin Shepard, one of our writers here at Mediaverse, and was like, we've pitched him this idea of doing a Christmas film, and it was always going to be a short, but we were so inspired in that moment, we were like, let's do a feature film. As we got closer and closer to this date that we were setting, we realized that we weren't even close enough to be able to make this film. It was such a large scale that we had to dial it back. That's sort of what we did with Yule Father.
When we were sitting down, Brittany and I, going over what the story itself was going to be, and then plotting it out and understanding where we wanted our hero to go, and the different things that he would need along his journey, like with most stories, and what type of character would that be, but how can we tell it a little different. And then we would just kind of create the different realms that live within this universe, and then how do they all interact together. And so then when we had all that in place for the feature, and then we switched it to go to a short film proof of concept, it was which ones do we absolutely need, because we knew we weren't going to be able to tell as big of a story in the shorter version for the proof of concept. So then we did have to kind of re-look at it again, more from like an even further back origin story, and introduce some other characters that help get our main character to where they needed to be at the end of the short film. So this way it throws him into the feature film.
Yule Father takes place 10 years before the events in what will be the feature film.
I'm really excited about the actors we have casted in Yule Father. Damien, he was one of the first people a part of the project. When we had this idea in 2022, it was because we said, how crazy would it be to cast Damien as Santa Claus? That was the original idea, is a Santa origin story.
Oh man, I mean, there were periods of time where I wasn't sure we were gonna make it. Like, it just wasn't gonna happen because everybody had so many projects going on, and this is kind of like a big endeavor, being a period piece. Like, I was fond of saying, like, yeah, I'll believe it when we're on set. And then we got on set, and here we are, and it's great. My character, unbeknownst to him, is the chosen one. I have forsaken a life of warfare to be a blacksmith because I don't like the person that I am when I fight. But circumstance pushes me into it. Ultimately, I end up fighting.
The magic will dwindle. it will die within all of us.
Choosing Rhiannon as Toriel was a no-brainer. She is Toriel. And having come out with the trailers and people seeing her in that role, like, we've been complimented on her as a choice. Like, if you know her, if you see her in the trailer, if you see her in the film, I think you'll understand. She just has an elven quality about her, and Rhiannon brought all of her own clothes for Toriel's wardrobe. It was just that perfect. She has all of the elements of Toriel, even down to her wardrobe.
State your intention.
We are here to take one of your finest warriors into battle with us.
When Kevin was developing the story, Kevin Shepard, he threw in another guy named Mouth, who is such a fun villain of the story, and charismatic and wacky and kind of really out there for one of the characters of this film. And so when we were thinking, like, well, who would play this character, we remembered Ben Mayer.
So like months later, she ended up reaching out saying that she was going through with it, and there was a character that she had in mind for me to play, and his name was Mouth, that he was a very charismatic, slightly insane villain. And I was like, sold. Villains are so fun to play. I rarely get to play them. I'm so in. He kind of reminds me of, or at least when I was thinking of him, he reminds me of your classic like playground bully where, you know, maybe they're the jock or the popular kid or something like that, but they're obviously lacking something in their day-to-day life that they have to lash out at people. And in Mouth's case, that's exactly what it is. I'm just really proud to be a part of this amazing community of people and to experience these long but wonderfully fun and fulfilling days on set with these people making some really cool stuff.
Your kind will soon perish. I killed them. All of them.
When it came to Morose, it was important that Morose come across as not a cheesy villain. But we met Kevin Moore on a different set where he also played a villain. And we're like, yeah, I remember that guy. Who is that guy?
The arch villain. He's not necessarily the most directly involved villain in this particular part of the story, but he's sort of the mind behind the madness. I really like the dynamic between Morose and his sister, because that was the principal conflict for him internally, was that he had to go up against his own sister, who has a very different agenda and a very different set of plans and needs than he does. I'm fairly new to film, and so just being able to work with people who are so professional and so aware of what they're doing and also willing and able to help me do what I'm doing.
The girl, you, unhand my daughter.
The village scene came together because of a lot of different elements. The Guardians of the Black Forest, Jake leading the way, but we also had people from the Iowa film community come out to be extras too, like complete strangers we've never met before, who either bought their own costumes or came and used some of ours, who completely dedicated their time to come out and be extras.
Yeah, so I'm Cutler and I'm here with the Guardians of the Black Forest. So I have been in the Guardians for roughly a year and a half now. Yeah, and I joined the Guardians mainly because I went to some fairs and I liked what they did and I kind of just wanted to join, so.
I've been in the Guardians for about 3 years, and I joined just because I went to Ren fairs a lot and I was just an unaccompanied child, and the Guardians said, "Come here, you want a sword fight?" And I said, "Yeah." It feels really official, is the way I'd put it.
Official and very different, but I do enjoy this a bit, so it's like.
Yeah. Fairs are so like, we know what's happening, we've done this forever, we're kind of in charge. Then we come here and it's like, what do I do now? I think the hardest part of it was getting the Guardians to shut up for 20 minutes.
Fair. That's a good.
We cannot be quiet.
Yeah, we can't be quiet. Although it was kind of a miracle that we were able to.
All of us were sitting there trying not to look at each other because we'd start laughing.
And so we're really grateful to those who did come and help bring the village to life.
So for the village scene, we were actually able to secure a location in Amana, Iowa, which is where I live. There is a location there called the Market Barn, which is a kind of open air, market with a barn attached to it. Very old wood. This town was built in the 1800s. Old, fencing. The place just looks very, again, old and vintage, and it really fit the vibe of what Brittany and Michael were going for. So the hut scene was actually a repurposed set from a Western film, a short Western film that our team assisted with earlier this summer. That process took a couple of months of just construction time. We put up these walls, we found a bunch of old wood, old shiplap siding that we used to create the walls, we painted it, we built a bar, we put down flooring, and then for this hut scene in Yule Father, we were able to repurpose that set because it had that old look, it had a lot of great textures. The lighting environment was very nice and fit the vibe that Michael Huntington wanted. For all of the forest scenes, we were able to actually go out to my family's property. They have a 40-acre forest out there that is just a perfect setting for a lot of the scenes that they're trying to shoot. So we shot a campfire scene out there with the elves, which is probably the opening scene of the movie. They shot the entire duel scene out there.
We searched high and low for a fight director. We talked to a lot of people. It kind of felt like there were a lot of people out there who figured that if they wielded a sword, they could fight direct. And weirdly, at the same time, Kevin Moore was recommended to us as a fight director, while Kevin also asked, well, who's fight directing this? And so I got to say to him, well, we were kind of wondering if you might be interested. You come highly recommended.
Here, there, and then up top, turn, roll.
Something I do quite frequently is teach people who have never touched a sword before how to do it and do it safely. It usually takes half an hour to an hour just to give them the basics, and then a whole lot of preparation, a whole lot of rehearsal. Actually, Damien and Vern both have some real-world martial arts experience, so they picked up on it relatively quickly. Jake was very, very eager, which is always great. We actually had a long rehearsal session just the day before. We were here at the studio and we just went through it. I like to choreograph things in small sections so that if your mind and your body can remember this one section, then we start building on the second section, much like putting layers on a pizza or something like that. You don't throw everything on the pizza all at once. First you do the sauce, then you do the cheese, and you do the other toppings.
Scene 3A, take one.
I filmed this movie on the FX30 with Blazar anamorphic lenses. I really love the camera. It's so small but has such a beautiful image, and paired with the anamorphic lenses that Blazar has, it just gave this, I don't know, this different vibe that I was going for.
Filming outdoors always is a trifling time, especially because you deal with not only animals, you do deal with the weather. And on the first day, it started to rain inconsistently. We had a couple drops here and there in the afternoon, and then by nighttime, we just were covered. And I remember looking over and seeing our sound mixer, Kevin Thorne, was just drenched and he was shaking, but he was a trooper. It was also fun to see, even in the most harsh environments, how the team is able to pull together and just still make it a fun time. They never once felt stress on the set.
Making a medieval film is tough because you have to get all these props of the time, you have to use the weapons of the time, people have to dress of the times.
This is one of the few films that I've done where costuming changes everything, changes all of it, and you really can step into your character. And it reminded me of theater in that way, where you bring your character to life. Once you have all these pieces put together, you have the voice, you have the lines, you have the actions, and then you have the costume.
So I have worked on a few period pieces before. There was some brainstorming beforehand with the director and myself, and then you kind of play it by ear. There were a lot of new challenges for me with the makeup and building the props as well, which is something hadn't done exactly that before, so it was really fun to play with. The ears especially tripped me up the most, getting those to look seamless and match skin tone, and luckily, you know, we could conceal some with hair and everything to distract from them. But I think that on camera it sold, and it turned out it looked really good. Everyone was in and out of my chair so quickly, and if somebody was needed on set and needed an adjustment, we would switch them out. So it was hard to get a fully accurate time frame. I would guess, like, in the end, full look probably like 45 minutes.
Each day was very complicated hair and makeup, and it was never I never ever doubted Walker's ability to do this. Action. I think that works.
Good. It's on.
We're a very blessed crew to have Kevin Thorne come be our sound person. Thankfully, he's come on to several of our projects in the past, and this was no different. He does such quality work, but one of the best things about Kevin Thorne is his attitude. You can always look to him, and he's positive, he's cracking jokes, he kind of keeps all of us uplifted. We're happy with the way Yule Father has come together from the beginning, having Kevin Shepard on board and develop it, to during production, having all the different people we had come be a part of it, whom without we could not have made this movie. But now in post, bringing Brian Bryson on to compose our music, and thankfully he was all in to do the music for this, and we are so grateful to have such a talent come and compose the music for Yule Father.
I think the biggest thing I can add is just that I'm just immensely grateful to everybody that came and sacrificed their time to make this. It is a project that we've wanted to make for a very long time, and something we're so passionate to tell that we never thought it was going to happen. You know, I mean, you think doing a Viking film, just even saying that is like, how are you going to do that? You know, there's so many obstacles in the way of being able to pull it off. You know, the scale of it is it's hard to do, and to do it well. And I just thought, like, as a team, we really did it. And again, it wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for everybody on this project.
Michael put his full effort into this film as a cinematographer, and not only that, he was the best leader that I've ever seen him be to his crew. And all the way he supported me and pushed me and ultimately encouraged me that we could do this. He also is a huge reason why our sets run the way they do. But I could not make this movie without Michael, and I'm happy that Yule Father started with just me and Michael.